Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. Today's message is not casual. It is not something you can just hear and move on. This is an alert for your soul. What you're about to hear is not just a reminder. It's a warning wrapped in mercy, a wake-up call wrapped in love, and a sign that you were meant to listen today. The reason? Because Allah is serious. And when He is serious, there are no options left. You either realign or you risk losing something bigger than this world can ever offer. Have you ever felt lately that you're being boxed in by life? Like there's a spiritual tension hovering over your choices? Maybe you've tried to justify your silence in front of falsehood. Maybe you've delayed repentance thinking there's time. But when Allah starts shaking your soul from the inside, gently at first, and then through louder calls, that's when you know the matter is becoming urgent. Not tomorrow, not later, but now. The chosen ones are not chosen just to be admired or comforted. They are chosen to carry burdens, to walk paths that feel isolated, to respond when everyone else is still sleeping in heedlessness. If you feel like your soul is being stretched right now, it's not to break you. It's to prepare you. But the preparation only works if you understand the seriousness of your spiritual assignment. You were not called by mistake. You were not selected randomly. You were not pushed out of your comfort zone just for the sake of struggle. There's a divine instruction you've been ignoring, postponing, or maybe misunderstanding. When the seriousness of Allah falls on someone, it is not to punish them. It is to awaken them. If you've been avoiding that one task you know Allah has placed in your heart, today is the day to face it. If you've been silencing the guilt inside your chest, today is the day to feel it deeply. Not to be destroyed by it, but to let it guide you. If you've been waiting for a clearer sign, this message is the sign. Maybe it's your calling to speak truth where others lie. Maybe it's your job to return what isn't yours. Maybe Allah has been telling you again and again to stop going near that thing, that habit, that relationship, that environment. But you've been covering your ears with distractions. You have no choice anymore. The door of obedience is in front of you. And the pressure you feel is not meant to suffocate you. It's Allah pushing you toward it before it shuts. Let's not pretend anymore. You've heard softer messages. You've been comforted long enough. But today, Allah is serious about what He wants from you. He's no longer waiting on your excuses. He's not interested in half submissions or delayed loyalty. The time of ease is fading, and the time of real accountability is near. You know it. You feel it. And deep down, you've been avoiding it because you fear the cost. But what if the cost of delay is greater than the cost of obedience? You've been chosen, and chosen ones don't get to live casual lives. Chosen ones are given responsibilities others don't understand. But they also receive provisions, protection, and insight that others can't access. The urgency you feel today is a mercy from your Lord, not a threat. But you must act on it. Because the worst pain is not being punished. It's being left alone when Allah once cared to warn you. There comes a point in your journey where the distractions you once tolerated start to feel like chains around your soul. It's not just discomfort, it's a divine agitation. A stirring in your chest that whispers, "You weren't created for this." And in those moments, you're not just feeling off. You're being warned. Allah is calling you higher, and you can't carry what you used to carry into the next season. The conversations that once entertained you now drain you. The company that once comforted you now unsettles you. This is not confusion. This is clarity forming. Allah is setting you apart for something sacred. You're not meant to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. And the longer you delay this calling, the heavier your soul will feel. You know exactly what you need to let go of. But the illusion of comfort keeps wrapping itself around your will. You keep telling yourself you'll make the change tomorrow, But what if the time for change is not later, but now? When Allah is serious about something in your life, He will not let you rest until you act. He'll stir your spirit in the quiet moments, interrupt your thoughts when you're distracted, and even close doors you were never brave enough to close on your own. He will make it so clear that continuing the old way becomes unbearable, because He loves you enough to pull you out of what's destroying you, even if you're still convinced it's safe. Some of you are experiencing divine friction right now, but you're mislabeling it as stress or anxiety. It's not just pressure, it's purpose trying to break through. It's not life falling apart. It's obedience calling you to rebuild on stronger foundations. If you've been praying for a sign, maybe this is it. Maybe the weight you feel isn't punishment, but preparation. Maybe the delay isn't rejection, but redirection. And maybe the silence you've been interpreting as abandonment is actually Allah giving you space to choose, to rise. But let's be clear. When Allah is serious about something, He won't give you the luxury of excuses forever. Eventually, the time for contemplation ends and the moment of obedience arrives. That's where you are now. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being willing. Willing to drop what's unnecessary, to move even if you're afraid, and to trust that Allah wouldn't press this on your soul if it wasn't essential for your growth. You can't claim to want His plan and cling to your own blueprint. You can't say you trust Him and still insist on controlling what's next. There's a deep urgency in this season. Not panic, but purpose. You're not being forced, but you're also not being allowed to remain the same. The door that was open yesterday may not be available tomorrow. What you ignore today might become what you regret later. And deep down, you know this. The fact that you're still watching, still listening, still feeling stirred, that's no coincidence. You're not randomly here. You're divinely positioned to hear this word right now. So ask yourself this: what has Allah been pushing you to do that you keep delaying? What habit, relationship, or mindset has He been urging you to drop, but you've been pretending not to hear? The excuses are running out and the opportunity is narrowing. But that's not a reason to fear. It's a reason to rise. Because when Allah is serious about your next step, it means it's tied to something greater than you can imagine. This urgency is not a burden, it's an honor. You're not being punished, you're being trusted. And once you surrender, truly surrender, you'll find that the path you were so afraid to take is where your real peace begins. The heaviness lifts, the doubt dissolves, and clarity begins to rush in like light through a window you finally opened. Because obedience opens what resistance always blocks. And once you taste that clarity, you'll never settle for confusion again. There are moments in your life when you think you're simply being challenged. But in reality, you're being reshaped, not slowly, not vaguely, but intentionally. And it's not about being strong, it's about being surrendered. The urgency in your soul that keeps waking you up in the night, the invisible pressure that tightens around your chest, the sense that you're being called somewhere you've never been before. That's not your imagination, that's divine weight pressing in. Because when you're truly chosen, you're not given the option to ignore the call. You can't run far enough. You can't distract yourself deep enough. You can't play small long enough to silence it. It will keep finding you. In every failure, in every silence, in every moment of frustration. Chosen ones don't have the privilege to ignore the serious tone of divine orders. When the signs get loud, when the heaviness gets deep, it's because you're not in an ordinary test. You're in an activation. You're being given something weighty because your capacity has matured in ways you can't even see yet. And the reason it feels overwhelming is not because you're weak. It's because the mission is weighty. You're being trusted with something rare, something not everyone is allowed to carry. You've outgrown shallow environments. Your growth has secretly prepared you for decisions that most people couldn't handle. That's why you're being moved without permission. That's why things are being stripped. That's why the peace of comfort has been replaced by a hunger for something more, something real. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're being pressed because your next level doesn't allow confusion anymore. And it's not optional. The door ahead of you requires obedience. It requires separation. It requires clarity. Because Allah is not trying to suggest something. He's commanding a pivot. And when He commands it, it's no longer a conversation, it's a direction. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need anyone to understand. You just need to listen. The weight you feel is a confirmation of the magnitude of what's ahead. Don't pray for the weight to be lifted. Pray for the strength to carry it with faith. The path you're on was designed before you even knew who you were. And now that you've caught up to it, don't resist. Respond. Allah is not calling you to be ordinary. He is calling you to be unwavering. And that requires a decision today, not later. If you've been waiting for a sign, the discomfort is the sign. The delay in your life is not denial, it's alignment. You're not running out of time. You're running into timing. So now, the question is not, what should I do? But, what am I still avoiding? That's the pivot. And once you step into that with both feet, everything will begin to rearrange itself around the will of the one who called you. You're not here to survive this season. You're here to obey through it. Because the one who obeys without full understanding is the one who gets elevated without limits. And you know in your spirit, it's time. When Allah is serious about you, He doesn't speak softly anymore. He doesn't give you gentle reminders. He begins to move things violently out of your way. He sends disruption, not to destroy, but to redirect. When you feel like everything around you is collapsing, relationships are fading, opportunities are blocked, your emotions are unpredictable, know that you're not being punished, you're being rerouted. The people you used to rely on suddenly disappear, not because they were wrong for you, but because Allah wants you to depend only on Him now. He's clearing the table so He can seat you where you're supposed to be. No distractions, no noise, no compromise. And this is where most chosen ones hesitate, in the silence of divine seriousness. When things don't make sense, when the ease is replaced with effort, when the results don't match the obedience. That's when the weight feels unbearable. But here's the divine mystery. The silence is not absence, it's preparation. When Allah is silent, He's working. And when He's working, the chosen must be still, focused, and consistent. This is not the time to panic. It's the time to prove your loyalty. Will you trust Him without clarity? Will you still obey when your prayers seem unanswered? Will you remain faithful when the path feels invisible? Because Allah's seriousness about you demands your seriousness about Him. He doesn't allow chosen ones to remain in mediocrity. That's why you feel agitated in places where others seem comfortable. That's why you can't fake joy in environments where you used to thrive. Your soul is being recalibrated. Your vision is being renewed. And that pressure you feel, that's heaven pushing you to evolve. You were never meant to stay where you started, and the heaviness you're carrying is sacred. It's a sign that something holy is resting on your shoulders. You see, you've asked Allah to use you. You've prayed for elevation, clarity, purpose, impact. And now here it is, just not in the form you expected. Because elevation comes with exposure. Purpose comes with pruning. And impact comes with isolation. You can't be used by Allah and remain unchanged. You can't carry a divine assignment and stay who you were before it was given. And Allah knows this. That's why He's not waiting for your comfort. He's moving for your calling. And chosen one, here's the truth many won't say out loud. You have no choice anymore. You've been marked. Your life is not random. Your path is not yours to design. The moment you were chosen, heaven placed a demand on your obedience. Not for punishment, but for positioning. Allah is trying to put you where your blessing is already waiting. But your fear of obedience is blocking the access. That's why the discomfort won't stop. That's why your peace is tied to surrender. Not control, not manipulation, not avoidance. Just surrender. So today, let every fear be exposed. Let every delay be confronted. Let every excuse be removed. Because the moment you step fully into what Allah is asking, the favor that's been waiting for you will begin to flow. The doors will open, not by force, but by faith. And the weight you've carried will turn into wings. You're not being crushed. You're being carved. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. And every tear you've cried in silence, every broken night, every deep sigh has been witnessed. Nothing has been wasted. Every step was leading to this moment, full obedience, now. And even when you tried to look away from the signs, those spiritual nudges, the moments of unexpected clarity, the way life kept circling you back to the same truth, deep inside, you knew this wasn't something you could delay forever. There comes a time in the life of every chosen one when the command of Allah is no longer a gentle whisper, but a firm and serious call. And this is that moment. This message isn't one you stumbled upon casually. It was meant to reach you, not as inspiration, but as a direction. You're not being asked, you're being told. It's no longer optional. And somewhere deep in your soul, you already know this. Allah is moving with purpose in your life, and He is drawing a clear line. One side is your comfort zone, your routines, your excuses, your fears. The other is obedience, discipline, submission, trust. You're being called to the side of sacrifice now. The side that doesn't feel comfortable but carries a divine weight. This is where you either rise to what you were created for, or you shrink back into silence and let the noise of the world swallow the voice Allah planted inside of you. You know what that voice sounds like. It doesn't scream, it doesn't threaten, but it doesn't let you sleep peacefully either, because you're running from something that was written for you before your soul ever entered your body. There are some instructions that only chosen souls receive. These aren't things you can explain to people around you. They'll think you're overthinking it. But in your moments alone, Allah makes it clear. He sends you messages through strange timings, unexplained peace when you obey, and sudden discomfort when you ignore. That's how you know it's not imagination. It's revelation, tailored to your journey. And when you've been marked by Allah for something higher, ignoring Him will only bring weight on your chest, not freedom. You've reached this point for a reason. And nothing about your presence here is without purpose. There is a divine weight to the journey you've been walking. And although at times it may have felt like silence, like waiting in the shadows of uncertainty, Allah has been watching your heart the entire time. What you're going through isn't random, and it's not meaningless. Every trial, every delay, every strange turn that confused you, they were part of the urgency He's trying to communicate right now. He's not calling you because it's convenient, He's calling you because it's critical. There's a shift happening in the spiritual realm that's about to show itself in your physical life. The instructions you once ignored, the subtle warnings you felt but brushed away, are now echoing louder. Allah is placing before you a serious message, not one meant to simply inspire you, but one that demands you move, that you return, that you act. You don't have the luxury of dismissing it anymore. Too much has already been invested in you. Too many signs sent your way. Too many moments. He held back what could have destroyed you, just to give you space to respond fully to his voice. You've noticed it, haven't you? That tug on your soul lately. That growing discomfort with the things you once tolerated. That hunger for peace, that no distraction seems to satisfy. It's not random. It's an urgent reminder that the time for compromise has expired. You are being called to a purity of heart, to a clarity of mind, to a submission that is not just outward, but inward. The stakes are higher now. The opportunities are fewer and the distractions are louder. But in the midst of that noise, Allah's voice is calling you out. This is not just encouragement. It's a divine wake-up call. You don't have to understand every step right now. But you must obey, even if you don't feel ready, even if you don't feel worthy, especially when you feel weak. That's the exact place where His power shows up. And this is where you rise. Not because you're perfect, but because He's patient. Not because you figured everything out, but because He's still giving you another chance. One more door, one more moment, one more invitation. You've ignored Him before, maybe even turned away in moments of pride or pain. But now is different. So before we end, take a deep breath. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. That's mercy. That's purpose. That's proof that you still have time. And now, as promised, let's end with a prayer. A moment of sincerity between you and your Lord. O Allah, soften our hearts to your voice and make us alert when the world tries to numb us. Remove the veil from our eyes so we see truth clearly. Give us the courage to walk away from anything that separates us from you. Make us of those who hear and obey, who don't delay when you call, who submit even when it's uncomfortable. Wrap us in your mercy when we fail, and raise us in your light when we stand. Guide our feet, bless our intentions, and bring peace to our restless hearts. Ameen.